my idea was that Carling should be on the Orlando Pirates shirt. So I went to see Dr. Causa. He loved the idea. And I brought it back to the Carling team, and they said, no ways, you can't have Pirates and not Chiefs. So I did some interesting research, and it was called Project Black Pearl. And it said, as long as you don't focus on the result, you focus on the masculine dimension of Carling and of Pirates, this can work. But the business just wouldn't go there. They were terrified of alienating Chiefs fans. So there was a failure from the start. And we ended up developing the Carling Black Label Cup, which is without a doubt one of the most successful marketing and sponsorship campaigns that SAB's produced and run.
Given your corporate experience, your parenting experience, and just your life journey, how do you define failure for Rob Fleming?
Well, you live with failure. And I think we fail all the time, because if we got everything we wanted and succeeded at everything we wanted, it just wouldn't be a real world. So I think it's the absence of success or absence of getting what you want. The most important leading that I've done has been raising children. And I guess my own failures and being able to distinguish between different types of failures has given me perspective on not putting pressure on my kids. So my biggest thing with raising my children was to take pressure off them. So you look at some of the great sports coaches who I had the privilege of working with. What they often did was to take pressure off their players. They would deflect issues in the media or whatever the case was. But children are under so much pressure now to succeed, to conform, to be something. And I continually strive to take that pressure off them.
Today's guest is Rob Fleming, brand builder and master of marketing reinvention. From Unilever to his own company, Incrementum, he has shaped some of South Africa's biggest brands. And to me, I'll forever remember him as the man behind the biggest soccer derby in the country, the Carling Cup. Right, Rob? Welcome to Cheers to Failure.
Wonderful to be here.
When you think about the Carling Cup, I see you smiling. I remember the days, right? And the role that you played. And it's remained one of the biggest successful brand campaigns in the country.
No doubt, I'm really proud of it. And it's got an interesting history, and there's actually a failure dimension to that story as well.
Is there?
Because my idea was that Carling should be on the Orlando Pirates shirt. So I went to see Dr. Causa. He loved the idea. And I brought it back to the Carling team, and they said, no ways, you can't have Pirates and not Chiefs. So I did some interesting research, and it was called Project Black Pearl. And it said, as long as you don't focus on the result, you focus on the masculine dimension of Carling and of Pirates, this can work. But the business just wouldn't go there. They were terrified of alienating Chiefs fans. So there was a failure from the start. And we ended up developing the Carling Black Label Cup, which is without a doubt one of the most successful marketing and sponsorship campaigns that SAB's produced and run.
Yeah. What kept you going, pushing, pivoting when you sensed that pockets of the business weren't as excited about the original idea, but what kept you trying to figure out how else the project could be done?
Well, Dr. Cause and I really were excited about working together, and we knew there was something here. And so I just continued. But interestingly enough, the genesis of that came from a campaign I saw in England around Coke. And that was 18 months before. And it was about connecting the dots. And suddenly the penny dropped that we could blend the derby as well as this Coke campaign into giving consumers the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge. And that was the birth of the Carling Black Label Cup, when we went back to the Carling team and said, would you be happy if we voted for the selection of the players? They said, what a great idea.
Yeah.
So bingo.
Yeah.
And that's, Carling Black Label is the biggest consumer brand in South Africa. It's grown since then. And that's probably been the one constant in Carling's life.
Yeah, brilliant. So let me then leap on to your definition of failure, given your corporate experience, your parenting experience, and just your life journey? How do you define failure for Rob Fleming?
Well, you live with failure. And I think we fail all the time, because if we got everything we wanted and succeeded at everything we wanted, it just wouldn't be a real world. So I think it's the absence of success or absence of getting what you want. But I think there's so many different categories of things. So if something really means a lot to you, then it hurts. Some things you don't mind failing at.
Yeah.
And some things are actually a badge of honor to fail at.
Oh, really? What are those? Like, I've never actually thought some things are a badge of honor to fail at.
I'll give you an example. I worked with the South African cricket team for many years, and I went on a trip to Harare with them. And I always said to the guys, I want to face a spinner. I just want to see what it's like. So at dinner, the whole team was laughing about it. Rob's going to face the spinner. I borrowed Dale Stein's cricket equipment. I bought my own box, by the way, and then went into the nets, and I faced the spinners, and they made a fool of me. But I was walking out, and Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel, the two fastest bowlers in the world, walked back and said, "Back in the nets."
Really? They wouldn't let you walk away from it?
And I faced Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel in the nets. And I looked like an absolute idiot. I didn't see the ball whizzing past my ears. I was playing and missing. I didn't have a clue. But I've got a picture of them afterwards, and that's a badge of honor. I faced Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel in the nets, but I hardly got a bat on ball.
Yeah.
And they were all laughing at me. But
I get it. I get it. So if you think about how you were brought up, and thinking about like your childhood, your upbringing, what was failure like in those moments for young Rob?
I guess the difference between then and now is I'm very clear about who I am now. So I don't mind the certain categories of failure. I don't mind being made a fool of in certain situations. I don't mind giving something a go and failing. Whereas I was probably unable to distinguish between those different categories when I was a little boy. And so it was I didn't know, I didn't feel comfortable with any failure in those days, whereas now I do. And I guess that's the big difference.
And with your kids, you've got 2 kids?
3.
3 kids. How are you teaching them to deal with moments when things don't work their way, when they experience the absence of success?
Yeah, I guess it's context, and that not everything will work out, and sometimes it's a good thing for things to fail, and sometimes it's good to demonstrate your humanity. That happened this morning. My son was meant to be on site at the rugby stadium, and he overslept, and he was devastated. And I said, just own it, apologize.
Yeah.
And it demonstrates your humanity as well. We all make mistakes.
Yeah. And I think it's in the just say it. Just say it.
Yeah.
Because to them, even getting to that level of being confident to say, I overslept, I missed the time, I am sorry, I will get there as soon as I can, is quite a, I want to say I think the fear of being judged and being punished maybe for them as kids could also be ringing in the back of their minds.
Yeah, possibly. And I think it's the inability to distinguish between, what's important to them, what's not important to them. And also the fact that I think subconsciously we like seeing humanity. And I think a lot of top sportsmen and celebrities have endeared themselves to their fan base by demonstrating their own vulnerabilities and just being human. But when you're perfect, like Tiger Woods tried to be perfect, you fall over. Hansie Cronje tried to be perfect. We all flawed. And as soon as you're at peace with that. And so, to answer your question around my children, I think when they do fail, it's chill, you know.
Yeah.
If you got out for naught, or if you lost the rugby game, or if you failed that exam, or failed your learner's test, or failed your driver's test, it's part of the journey.
It's part of the journey. Has failure for you shaped how you lead?
Yeah, I guess the most important leading that I've done has been raising children, and I guess my own failures and being able to distinguish between different types of failures has given me perspective on not putting pressure on my kids. So my biggest thing with raising my children was to take pressure off them. So you look at some of the great sports coaches who I had the privilege of working with. What they often did was to take pressure off their players. They would deflect issues in the media or whatever the case was. But children are under so much pressure now to succeed, to conform, to be something. And I continually strive to take that pressure off them and to chill. And so that's the most important job in leadership is raising your children. In the corporate world, when I led teams, I always encouraged people to take a risk. I was never scared to take a risk, like with the Carling Black Label Cup. I produced some cups for the 2003 Cricket World Cup. They were ahead of their time, but we made probably 4 times too many. But I didn't want to run out, but I was prepared to give it a go. And so people who worked for me, I always wanted them to give it a go, because if you stay in the safe space, you'll never achieve your potential.
When you reflect on the kind of risks you are prepared to take, because not all risks are good to take professionally, what kind of risks or filters do you apply to determine if this risk I am willing to take as Rob?
I guess so much of it is about how important is this thing to me. There's certain things I'm happy to fail at. There's certain things I don't mind failing at. There's certain things I do not want to fail at. And I think that's the filter through which I will, I'll deal with failure.
What are sort of things that you haven't wanted to fail at?
Public speaking.
Really? Tell us more. Why would you not want to fail in public speaking?
It's public speaking is one of the things that gives you a real high, but it's a real low when you blow it. And it's not one of those neutral things for me. So I was best man for about 5 guys. I spoke at all 3 of my siblings' weddings. And those are much harder than work talks as well.
Really?
For sure.
Why?
When it's personal. Work is easy. 1 + 1 is 2. Here's the logic. And you're typically the expert in that area. But talking emotionally about someone you care about requires a lot more thinking, preparation, nuances. So I prepared and I prepared and I prepared. If I was writing a speech as a best man, I'd probably start 2 months before, writing it, rewriting it, smoothing it out, before the days of AI. Because the thought of standing up in front of 200 people and looking like an idiot was just far too humiliating for me. So I prepared properly.
When you think about the moments where, with your preparation, there's been hiccups, because sometimes it's not hiccups of your own doing. Do you have a story where your preparation was on point, but the environment had a gap for some reason?
So it was actually at my brother's wedding, where I was prepared as usual. And just before I was going to go up and speak, I had an altercation with someone. And I got up there and I stumbled. I blew the first paragraph completely. And And I still get cold shivers thinking about it today.
Really?
I hated it. So, yeah, you can be prepared, but something trips you up at the last minute and it throws you off completely.
Yeah. What did that teach you about Rob?
It shows how flawed I am, that I was unable to, even with all the preparation in the world, I couldn't ride the wave. Although I do think I'd probably be better at it now. I found the older I get, the more at peace I am with not being perfect and not failing. And I think parenting's taught me that, as I said earlier.
Yeah. And managing your emotions. Because I'm thinking in that moment, your emotions were so high. Peaked, yeah. What feedback did you get from family? Did anyone notice?
No, they noticed. No, it was terrible.
Okay.
It was terrible. I stumbled and I apologized and restarted again.
Yeah. And what feedback did they give you after that moment?
The interesting one is they said you were trying to be too perfect. You were trying to recite your speech almost, because I had it so on tap, I could almost stand up there and deliver it without notes. And the lesson is, don't try and sort of recite it. Don't be too perfect. Just do it in the normal way, even if you've got to read it up front as your nerves settle, as you get on the stage.
Is there a failure in your career that was catastrophic at the time, and in retrospect, it's turned out to be a blessing?
Without a doubt. I mean, you knew me at SAB. I was the global head of my function. We were in 83 countries. I was flown around the world to speak at conferences outside of the company. I was on top of my game, absolutely on top of my game.
Yeah.
And I was approached to go and do another job. I was in my mid-40s, and I thought, this is a great time to go. It's a new challenge, and I want to grow myself. I'm prepared to put myself out there, be vulnerable, make mistakes, grow, not be the best again.
And at this point, this role is outside of SA Breweries, and you've been there for how many years at SAB?
16 years.
16 years, yeah.
So I took a big jump, and I took a big leap of faith to go out there and do that. And the company I went to was very different to me and to SAB. And I challenged the guys, why do you want me if I'm so different to you? And they said, no, that's why we want you. Because you're different and you bring a different way of thinking and you've got skills we don't have. So that really appealed to me. And then I got there and they didn't listen to a word I said.
Sure.
And it was the weirdest feeling. I would talk at conferences, people looked at me blankly. I'd sit in meetings and discuss concepts and they looked at me blankly. And I just started to shrivel up over that period of time. It was not so humiliating, but I just felt myself dying slowly. It was in such sharp contrast to being at SAB, where I was so respected, so confident. I had such belief in myself, and going into an environment where no one listened to me, it was weird. And so my failure in going there was that I wasn't rigorous enough in interrogating, did they really want me? Would they really listen to me? And I took a leap of faith without doing my homework.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in many ways, it was when I reflect on it, it was actually quite traumatic. If you are ignored, not listened to, I'll challenge anyone to be put in that situation. It takes you down. So that was incredibly tough going through that.
Who was your support system at that time within your organization and in your inner circle?
I didn't have any support inside the organization. The good thing was that these guys were wonderful guys, and that kept me sane. They were really nice to Rob Fleming, the person, but professionally, we just missed each other. So they didn't want to undermine me. It wasn't an intentional thing. It wasn't a nasty thing. One spoke Greek and one spoke Chinese, and we never met each other. So that kept my sanity, because they were really nice people. And they still are, and I'm still in touch with them. So it was more professional, complete lack of alignment, complete misalignment.
Yeah.
But the rock in my life was my wife, and she was actually really worried about me, and said, "You've got to get out." And they were paying me really well, and I had kids at boarding school. So I said, "How can I leave? I'm going to do this for my kids. I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna hang in for my children's sake." But eventually she read me the right act and said, "You have to get out. You're dying. I'm watching you die in front of me here. You're going grey." And she wasn't referring to my grey hair. She was referring to my skin.
Your skin.
Yeah.
What do you think was visible to her in the going grey?
That dread in my face, and every morning I got up, my shoulders stooping, my lack of the Rob she knew was gone. I used to bounce off to work every morning when I went to SAB, but there I went with my shoulders stooped, head down, and she read me the right act and said, "You've got to get out."
In the time interacting with your executive team, how did you manage that? Because I've been in situations where I feel that my value is not received. And sometimes for me, my surviving action, I would just be quiet. There's a thing called quiet quitting these days that has become part of our language. So for you, how did you manage?
Just like you.
Yeah.
I just retreated into my shell like a tortoise. I didn't do it immediately. I walked in there very buoyant, remember?
Yeah.
And I kept going, and I tried every angle. I came at things from different perspectives. I did more. I worked harder and harder and harder to try and convince them. But I reached an inflection point where I just went into my shell, and I withdrew.
What blessing did this create or give you retrospectively? Because the question was catastrophic at the moment of the failure, and now looking back, it was actually a gift. What gift what did the experience give you?
It was a complete gift. First of all, I tested my own resilience. People couldn't believe that I stayed there that long.
How many years did you stay?
6 years.
Sure, that was long.
In a place where you're battling, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And and I went to boarding school from the age of 9, and I've got no doubt that played a huge role in me being resilient. And I'm not going to give up. I was determined not to lose. I was determined to convince them about my way of thinking, but I never ever cracked it. But so you only get to know yourself when you do fail and you are in those situations. So I learned about my own resilience there. I was quite impressed how long I survived, because people are shocked, like you were, that I lasted 6 years in an environment that wasn't good for me. But I grew immeasurably. I read, and I looked for new angles. I felt like I was water looking for the crack in the wall. I was going to find the crack. I never found it there, but it freed me up to read and to read and to read. And I started finding a pattern of what the greatest people in the world had all done to win in business. And that was the genesis of starting my own business. And the beauty about, if you are comfortable, if I'd stayed at SAB, I would never have started my own business, because I was happy, I was comfortable.
That's true.
I was well looked after, I was respected. You just don't leave that situation. And so by being forced into a situation where you hit rock bottom, you then are prepared to take a courageous leap. And it wasn't a stupid jump. I knew that I'd found a point of difference in all my readings, in all my explorations, and it gave me, when you're at the bottom, it doesn't matter if you fail somewhere else. So I was happy to take the jump and go and do my own thing. Comfortable in the back of my mind that I had a unique angle to go with, which has proven correct.
Yeah. What help or support did you need at the time from friends, the people I call the inner circle or your tribe? I understand your wife played an immense role, but if you had met a non-Togozo who knows you, because I know for me that there are specific people who just were light in my life during the most difficult times.
So the thing that I never lost in my own mind was I the crazy one. And I knew, I don't want to say I was right, but I knew that the thinking was right. And I'd studied the Bezoses, I'd studied the Steve Jobses and the Danny Myers, and they were all doing the same thing. And when I shared that inside the organization, it fell on deaf ears. So I knew what my thinking was right. And I was very fortunate to have some really good ex-colleagues who'd become friends of mine. The one guy who changed my life because he told me what my unique strength was. And no teacher, no parent, no lecturer, no friend, no boss had ever even been aware of what that was. And he pointed it out to me. And he is without a doubt the most gifted guy I've ever met in the workplace.
Sure.
And he saw my work and to this day still says that was one of the best pieces of work I've ever seen.
Wow.
The fact that the audience didn't hear it, you can't help that. So I kept my sanity. So emotionally, my wife kept me solid.
Yeah.
But intellectually, I didn't doubt the story I'd been telling. And knowing that this particular individual, he validated that my thinking was spot on.
Yeah.
And if people didn't hear it, well, that was their problem and not yours.
Yeah. I also want to just understand if you think there is value in talking about one's struggles to people they trust. Because some people, I find, for the sake of keeping the front of success and appearing and holding that line of, I'm Rob, I'm successful, I make good money, my family is good, my career is on the rise. People reluctantly and sometimes fearfully don't talk about their struggles.
Well, I think you've got to be quite selective about who you talk to because most people either don't care or they're happy to hear that you're battling, sadly. But we've all got a special group of mates or people in our lives that you know are on your side, in your corner, and will give you honest advice and will back you. And I knew who they were, like this individual, and he kept my sanity. And so to answer your question, you have to talk. If you bottle it, you go barking mad. And that's how cancer almost festers, is that it stays inside. You've got to release it, whether it's through sport, through talking, through perspective, through getting away. So, yeah, there's no doubt that I was completely vulnerable with certain people because I knew they wouldn't judge me for it. And they would back me.
What would you say to a Rob who is in a job and an environment where a similar event is occurring in their lives? What would be the 3 things you would say they should keep in mind and apply to deal with the situation?
I think you've got to... I don't like giving up. I've often seen CVs where people bounce around the place, and you've got to hang in. And so I'm actually still quite proud that I hung in for 6 years. in that particular role. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to work out, are you in the right environment? Because, you could be a global expert, but if you're in the wrong environment, no one's going to listen to you, and that's soul destroying.
Yeah.
So you've got to work out the right place. But importantly, and I know it's one of the books that you've read as well, which is Strength Finder. I'm such a believer in having a really clear understanding of where your strengths lie. And not necessarily skills, but strengths. What are the things that float your boat? Where are you in flow? When are you at your best? And that sort of awareness is so informative about, whether you're in the right place or not. Are you doing the kind of work that you should be doing? So, yeah, don't give up. 2 would be, is this the right environment for me? Will they ever hear me? And thirdly, you've got to be playing to your strengths. And then if you do that, and I was very deliberate when I went into my own business that I've focused very much on where my gifts are. And not necessarily just skills, but where my gifts lie, my strengths.
Yeah. You said that there are questions you would have asked to test if they would listen to you. What kind of questions are those? And how would you test that? Because when one is going through an interview process, it's that 1 hour and a coffee with the HC exec. It's that coffee with the CEO. And I don't know, maybe another coffee with like 3 peers that would be in your executive team. What kind of questions could you have asked to test if they'll listen to you?
Yeah, I didn't ask enough questions for a start. I was so confident at the time that I backed myself to win over any situation. I didn't have a doubt going in there, and that tripped me up. So I was overconfident. But I guess if you know what you're going in to do, and you've got clarity about that, you've got to test those concepts up front again in a completely new environment. In your world, you've gone, you've had some really senior marketing roles, but there are marketing organizations, whether it was a bank or a brewery, they believed in their brand. I was going into an environment where that wasn't the case.
Okay. And
I just didn't test that rigorously enough. And I think, the technical questions will vary from job to job, but I think getting that alignment and seeing that you have the same North Star, you have the same view about where you're going is just so important. And I was overconfident going in there.
Yeah. One of the questions I love to ask is, what are the reasons that made you select me for the job? I love asking that question because in a way it gives me an understanding of the qualities they see, and it checks for alignment if that is indeed how I see myself. And when I am challenged, I try to not forget the reasons that made this match the right match. Other people don't ask that question. And so you walk in knowing you're qualified technically, and there is the mandate professionally that they've brought you in for. But I find just that little bit of knowing the reason why the executive team, beyond just the CEO I report to, why they felt I was fit for the job. It's empowering.
It's a great question, that. And I asked the leadership I asked them that, and they said, no, we want you because you are different. But I didn't interrogate it further. What you did better than me is you went and you spoke to a broader range of people.
Yeah.
I felt that if I had the CEO's buy-in, I was styling, but there were other landmines around the business that I didn't see coming. I didn't prepare properly. I was overconfident, backing myself to to succeed anywhere at that point in time.
How's your preparation changed as you launched your own business? How long have you had Incrementum?
6 years.
Oh, you've been leading and running Incrementum for 6 years?
6 years.
Oh, well done. Your preparation?
Well, the interesting thing about this in the context of failure, and as I said to you earlier, I had the privilege of working with a cricket team. And cricket's a fascinating sport because the greatest batsmen in the world live with failure. They only succeed 1 in every 3 or 4 innings.
Yeah.
They live with failure. It's such a test. That's why it's a wonderful sport for little kids to play as well.
Yeah.
You learn such amazing life lessons in cricket that other sports often don't.
Yeah.
But I live with failure every day. And I'm so chilled with it now. Because,
what do you mean you live with failure every day?
Because you are pitching for business.
Okay.
And you've got the lowest strike rate in the world. I feel like, you always think of lions, catching the buck. Well, they've got I don't know what the stat is. I think it's 1 in about 6 or 7 times that they catch it. They're not like wild dog. They have a much higher success rate. But, when you're pitching for business, you've got an incredibly low strike rate. So I live with it. It's a daily part of my life, is not succeeding. And, I know what I'm saying. I know my North Star. I know what it's right. If they don't see it, that's where I find my peace. It's not that I've failed. It's that they haven't seen it.
Yeah, I love that. And Mandy doesn't see you going grey, your wife.
Well, the interesting thing is, in theory, going on your own is the most stressful thing in the world. But in fact, I haven't found that. I'm doing what I'm loving. And when you do what you love, it removes so much negativity out of your life. You also... The nice thing is that in a job, you guys who are in corporate jobs don't realize this, but your eggs are in one basket, your boss. That is the most terrifying, insecure thing in the world, because you turn the wrong way, you're with the wrong person, you fall off. I've got lots of bosses, I've got lots of clients, and if one falls over, they're more. And it's actually, my risk is so widely spread that I'm actually more relaxed now than I've ever been.
Really? Yeah.
The corporate world is infinitely more stressful. I didn't realize it at the time. And, I jumped out. I didn't realize COVID was 6 months around the corner when I started. And I had 3 kids at boarding school. I mean, I was barking mad to go out and do that on my own. But I back myself, and it's, there's far less risk in doing your own thing.
Yeah. And how do you distress? Because a lot of us forget to do the fun things. And I can imagine when you're in your own business, how giving yourself a moment to breathe, play golf, have a good glass of wine, or read a book, or whatever it is. What are your 3 things that are just your calming activities?
I work hard. I work hard to calm myself.
Really?
Yeah. So I push long hours, but I'm loving what I'm doing. So it doesn't feel like a burden. I'm doing it. I'm doing what I want to do. I'm doing it for myself. So working hard is actually a stress reliever. The stress in life doesn't come from working hard. It comes from the nonsense that goes on at work, the toxicity of the corporate world. So in your own space, you don't have that. It's wonderful. But exercise is critical as well. And I do a lot of that. That keeps me sane. And I've been very, very involved with my children. They've all been at boarding school. And so Mans and I have traveled for 9 years now, our weekends.
Oh, beautiful.
Off to different parts of the country to go and visit our kids.
Yeah.
And that's a huge distraction. And being on the side of the field, watching them play sport, being in beautiful places. So that's kept my balance.
Yeah. Wow, Rob, this was fantastic. On that note, we've chatted to Rob Fleming about his journey with failure. Thank you so much, Rob. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please won't you do me a favor? Click the subscribe button as well as the notifications button so you know when we've got new content on our YouTube channel. And share it with your friends, whoever you believe needs to know that failure doesn't mark the end, but is filled with beautiful, glorious lessons we all need to have. Thank you.